If you would have told me just 2 years ago that I'd actually like the idea of an ultra-thin phone that has a smaller than average battery, is eSIM only, and has a single camera, I'd say you're crazy, but let me explain. I think the reason why car dealerships have test drives is because otherwise it's easy to fall into the trap of assuming that all cars drive the same. I never really cared much about cars until I test drove a Porsche 911 and a GT3 at Silverstone, and yeah, I know. That day I learned that some companies really do invest in making the experience of driving their cars unique, and to a certain degree, the same can be said about companies like Apple. How often do you hear people say that they love their HP workstation or their new Dell? I mean, these are good products, but I've only heard people express love for a Mac. Apple has mastered the art of evoking an emotional response to its products, and, well, that's kind of precisely what happened to me a couple of days ago. This is the iPhone Air, what Apple calls as the thinnest iPhone ever with the power of Pro inside, and what I'm going to call as the second most shocking first impression I've ever had with a phone. The first was my beloved iPhone 4, and it's crazy to think that, 15 years later, the effect was pretty much for similar reasons. I'm Jaime Rivera, and let me tell you why in my iPhone Air, the Honeymoon Phase, sponsored by Subcase. Stick around to learn more about how Subcase has helped me augment my experience with this iPhone Air. So for the usual disclaimers, at the time of filming this video, I've only had this phone for like 3 or 4 days, which is not enough for a full review. Here's the thing though. I unbox products nearly every single day, so at this point, it's very hard for me to be surprised by anything. I could name gems like the first Galaxy Fold or my first pair of AirPods, to name a few, but these were all products I aspired to use, so of course there was some excitement involved. By contrast, every single thing about the iPhone Air is contrary to what I look for in a phone, and yet, the first time I held it, I pretty much had a twins introductory moment, if you know what I mean.
Come again?
My name is Julius, and I'm your twin brother.
The unboxing reminds me more of every single MacBook Air box. The product is shown from its side, calling out its main selling point. On the inside, we get the phone with your typical USB-C to USB-C cable, very little literature, and that's about it. If you remember the audience reaction to Steve Jobs unveiling the first MacBook Air,
Get out here.
yeah, that happened to me too. The setup is then your typical iPhone, where you hold both phones together, you sign up to iCloud, but since I didn't have a backup for the reference phone I used, it did the direct device to device restore without even asking. You get your usual Apple Intelligence introduction, which is then followed by a showcase of iOS 26, and in a bit less than 30 minutes, my full restore was done. Holding the phone for the first time, again, was impressive, but it's after doing so for about that hour of the setup that things got interesting. If you watch my review of the Galaxy S25 Edge, you'll hear me also be struck by holding it for the first time, but I think the minor subtleties in their design choices are what impressed me the most about the iPhone. It's not just that the Air is thinner, but Apple's choice to polish the titanium and then smoothen out the borders only adds to the feel. Seriously, with the exception of the camera plateau, there are no single sharp corners on this phone, making it feel like if you're holding a solid sheet of glass. By now, I'm sure you've already seen the teardowns and all the intents to bend this phone, and it hasn't happened. This combo of Ceramic Shield 2 on both sides, along with the titanium, is pretty impressive. So, listen, don't be like me a week ago judging a book I had never held by its cover. Go to a store and hold it, because otherwise descriptions don't do it justice. Maybe even more impressive is how the camera bar serves double purpose in order to make this phone far more powerful than even the leaks called out. We're talking of the same A19 Pro chip we get on the Pros, though with one less GPU core, same amounts of RAM, and more than enough storage. We've got fast wired and wireless charging, somehow with the Qi 2 magnets built in, though for a battery that does sound controversial on paper in 2025. I really wasn't expecting much, but Apple pulled a genius move by adding the combo of its C1X modem and its N1 wireless chip for more efficient connectivity, and actually, let me just jump into that from the start. If you've watched Michael Fisher's review, I pretty much have landed on the same day-to-day experience over the past couple of days. Endurance and performance just don't make logical sense because this phone has somehow lasted all day with regular to heavy loads and has also done so remaining cool to the touch. For example, last night I took it to a concert along with the 17 Pro Max and the Pixel 10 Pro, and only this Air remained connected to 5G on Verizon while the others did a bit of jumping into LTE. Seriously, whatever magic Apple did with the C1 modem on the iPhone 16e has only improved with the C1X because it's nailing legendary endurance from an even smaller battery, all while phone calls and its ability to remain connected to a network in hard scenarios continues to impress. As such, even if I've been carrying both the 17 Pro Max and this Air in my pockets for the past few days, I've noticed I usually drift more to the Air. It just feels effortless to operate, and I think a lot of it also has to do with how thinness helps you perceive the display differently. At 6.5 inches diagonal, this nears phablet territory, but the thinness contributes to this surreal feel of a large panel that feels small in your hand. Rumors called this Super Retina XDR to be watered down for the sake of efficiency, but that didn't happen. Same great quality in color and contrast, same variable refresh rate from 1 to 120 Hz that even allows always-on functionality. And listen, I don't necessarily love this idea of having a single speaker for sure, as it's not as bass-heavy as most phones are, but at least it's on the earpiece, so it's pointing at you, and you can't really muffle it because of that. Actually the case of many lately. We either make videos for a living. Obviously, if the selling point of this phone is that it's ultra thin, then putting it in a case sort of defeats its purpose. But the fact of the matter is it's also not indestructible, and that camera hump does wobble quite a bit on a table. Still, I'm of the type that prefers to pick a case if it's going to help me with extra modularity, and for that, today's sponsor Subcase has you covered with its UB grip. We're talking TPU plus a PC structure which ensures the protection of a hard back and flexible soft edges, along with 4 corner airbag elements that help keep the case looking new even after heavy falls, all while providing added grip while in your hands. It's mil-spec 810H certified, and my favorite feature is this built-in aluminum kickstand that also includes N52 magnets, allowing it to double strength for MagSafe accessories. There's also zero compromise when it comes to camera control, and the raised edges ensure your screen and plateau are protected as well. Best of all, once you see its price and color options, you'll understand why Subcase continues to lead the pack. You can learn more about them in the links in the description. Now, there were a lot of rumors of iOS 26 having multiple battery saver capabilities for this phone in order to keep it in check, and if they're working, I'll admit I have no clue. This phone behaves no different than the 17 Pro Max, and this is saying something. At this point, while I do have Apple's new MagSafe battery, I'll admit that I've never really used it. This is all while using iOS 26 with the same larger-than-life, always-on clock that morphs into my favorite approach to wallpapers. If anything, I'd say that all the liquid glass elements blend best with the feel of this phone more than with the others. I'll just get back to you on how things go with the rest of the features once I'm done with my full review. But fine, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is this single camera system. I do understand that if part of the plateau was used for internals and the rest for the battery, there really wasn't space for more cameras. To address this, Apple fit this phone with what I think is the same 48 megapixel Fusion primary that's on the iPhone 17, meaning you do have multiple lenses mimicked through separate image pipelines, which sure, some people consider a technical crop, but it's really not that simple. You also get the genius selfie camera that's really a 24 megapixel die that renders 18 megapixel results in different aspects. And listen, guys, I want to know what Apple is doing with its processing because look at these close-ups. The detail is just incredible. And even without a macro, just switch to 2x and let it do its magic. I'm even shocked at portraits as they feel pretty unreal even without multiple lenses. Now, do I miss an ultra-wide? Sure. If anything, I wish the primary started at 20 millimeters like the selfie shooter, which would be wide enough, and that would later punch into, 26 and 35 millimeters, because a starting point of 26 is already tighter than the 24 millimeters we get from the primary on the Pro models. Also, that 10x digital is sadly not great. This phone is meant to live within the 1x, 1.4x 35mm, and 2x, meaning people, street photography, and certain landscapes, which, yeah, this phone does do a good job at. I'd say night shots are pretty good so long as you have good light around you. Otherwise, the app will ask you to remain still the less light there is, and obviously at the expense of sharpness for being a human. Now listen guys, this selfie camera is what every phone should bring. It's not just the versatility of one orientation for all photos, but just how wide this camera is, leading to pleasing and useful results. Now, when it comes to video, I would say that this is your typical iPhone and its high bitrate quality and great stabilization, even up to 2x because coming from the primary sensor, you're pretty much using the same stabilization, but that's if you have good light. This is where the larger sensor on the Pros really shines, as results on the Air are good, but you will notice some jitter here and there, the busier the scenario is as lights get dim. Still, I gotta forgive this phone for just how good selfie video is, again, with the convenience of a single orientation. So I gotta say that for a phone with less cameras than most, what these sensors and processing can do is pretty amazing. To conclude, I think it's important to go back to how Tim Cook introduced this phone.
Introducing the newest member of the iPhone family.
Our intention was to make an iPhone that feels like a piece of the future.
Which, sure, is an easy way to think that this brings the typical curses for early adopters. My first few days with this phone have actually proven the opposite. The hardware is incredible, the software feels like a natural extension of that build, and the experience using this combination has been unlike any other phone I've used before. If I had to describe this phone with a single word, I'd call it natural. Yes, it's not perfect. It's hard to adapt to living with a single camera after the past 10-ish years of having been taught otherwise. Still, I do think that there's a reason why some of the most beloved point-and-shoot cameras use a single and fixed 35mm lens, even at astronomical price points. Sure, there is a possibility that this phone is not for me, but maybe it is. There's really only one way to find out, and the last couple of days have taught me that it deserves a broader test drive, so stay tuned for my full review on it, coming very soon. Let me know if you agree with my assessment in the comments below, and while you're at it, a like and subscribe would be really appreciated. In addition to following me on social media, as you can see me testing this phone, watches, everything you could think of all the time. Also, a quick reminder that our first podcast episode with Josh is going live very soon, so stay tuned for links on that new channel and episode. And yeah, it's actually with Samsung. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.